Maybe switch them.
Yeah, I'm still not taking them off.
All right. I'll be right back. Get a book. All right, cheer the cheers up. All right.
You good though?
Well, we're alive.
We're live.
Yay.
Okay. Well, hi there, folks. Welcome to the first degree of Brilliant Tradition study group. As you can see, I am not Lexi Renee. And if I was, she would have some impressive surgery. But no, I'm not. She's actually had the pleasure of going down south to visit her folks for the month. So I will be standing in for her using her lesson plan. So still credit all this to her. I'm just here in person. So it's my understanding that we finished lesson 1 last week. So we're beginning lesson 2, which is cosmology. And this is part 1 of lesson 2, which is God, the universe, and everything. Sounds a bit daunting now, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty much what we're going over is how Wiccans understand deity. And there are 2 levels to a Wiccan's understanding of deity. The first is personal, and the second, universal. Okay, so what does that mean? On a personal level, we approach deity as an entity with which we interact through words and actions, and with whom we maintain a personal relationship. At this level, we give deity many names and faces, and we interact with deity through these names and faces. But most Wiccans will use a variety of names and faces for deity in this personal sense, but will have one particular form they perceive as their patron. Okay, Melissa, you can come sit down over here. Okay, so, yes, so now, the best analogy of how Wiccans view deity is the diamond. And each facet of the diamond, actually, let me get our example of the diamond. This is how deity is perceived. Representation of the diamond. And each facet, all the different shapes there, of course, it provides a different but equal way of looking at the same stone. Thus, when a devotee speaks to their patron, they are really using a personal form to access universal power. The reason we need such personal forms is because we build our bond with deity through emotion. And all abstract understanding of the world will make no difference to you if you cannot connect to it emotionally. It will seem dry and empty and will strike no resonance in your being. Because we're all different, we connect to deity in many different ways. Okay, so now when we refer to a personal deity, the overarching idea of deity, the universal deity, which is androgynous, which is in everything. How do we interact with such an abstract idea is what it comes down to. So one's personal deity could be one of many things. For instance, there we have, Odin would be a personal deity. Freya would be a personal version of deity. But in particular, that would be a patron deity. And your patron deity is the one you are, well, in a sense, you would pray to by name. For instance, I have been known to interact with Anubis personally, and I would interact directly, speaking the name Anubis, and directing my thoughts and intentions kind of through him is how I perceive it. And if you want to stretch it even into the realm of outside of Wicca, you can make the argument that one of the Christian gods is one of the facets upon the diamond. Mm-hmm. And the best way of saying it is that deity is like the diamond with many facets, and the deity has many faces, all of which are beautiful. But each face makes one, each shape puts together, the whole beautiful diamond. I mean, the whole thing in and of itself is beautiful, so therefore a piece of it, that little facet right there is also beautiful. Okay? That makes sense so far. Because again, I'm not working off my own lesson plan, I'm working off with Lexi's. So, okay. Let me just put that back and we can continue. Alright. So, but again, at no time do we perceive an individual face of deity as being the only face of deity, only our individually preferred face. So again, I have been known to prefer Anubis. Now, I know you've just begun your first degree studies. I mean, I'm not fully done myself. But
Just feel free to answer
Thank
that.
I'm going to go ahead and just get that taken care of right now.
Is that really loud on there?
Yeah, it's let's just get rid of this here. And,
But anyway, would you say there is an aspect of deity that you perceive as perhaps, or do you deal with any deities?
For me, I think in part it is because my study began in earnest during the fall season,
Mm-hmm.
and also because of what I had been reading at the time. I was really working in earnest with the crone.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Mexican, I believe it's in Mexican traditions, and there's a name for the crone, La que sabe, or one who knows.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a form that I've been working with. Not necessarily the Mexican form, but that's this name this in one of the books I was reading for the idea of the old wise woman.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I've also been working with Hecate as
Mhm.
well, and even Baba Yaga, actually, who most people know as a villain in stories, but I've read several where she sort of plays a dual role as villain and sort of the guide who tests people out and gives them a little bit of the information.
Right.
And those sort of three faces of the crone have been
Yeah, Hecate being the
Hecate being the
Greek
Greek one.
goddess of death and of magic.
Of
the crone.
witchcraft. It's said that
Yeah.
she was so revered that even Zeus got his power from her.
Yes, yes, also
And
known as the
respect
Lady
her.
of the Crossroads, sometimes with
Mhm.
three different faces. Also kind of representation of the threefold law, if you want to take it a little further. Now, do you interact with any particular deities, or is there anything that you're attracted to?
this is actually new to me.
Mhm.
I've always, and I know I told you about that in the past, I've been more of my energy work and the work that I've done has all
Mhm.
been unfocused, more directly to the universe.
Okay.
So this is actually something I'm very interested in, because I would feel that by focusing specifically on different deities for different types of ritual,
Okay.
I think it's something I'd be interested in.
Well, let's take a moment then and actually discuss the difference. You know, you said you speak directly to the universe, so in essence you're speaking directly to deity or to spirit. Okay, that being, I'll call it the overarching power of the universe is what you're dealing with in particular. Actually, for the longest time, I found it very difficult to interact with a personal deity. So I agree with you. I mean, I'm finding particular deities from particular pantheons. You know, Norse, Greek, different pantheons, for instance. I'm finding myself attracted to Odin, but before that, it was mostly straight up god and goddess, straight up spirit. You know, speaking directly to really whomever would listen. But again, you know, what is the primary question out there?
Why do you feel that one should have a perfect facet of deity? Isn't that limiting?
Okay, having a perfect,
Do you
I don't believe we use the word perfect. We use the word beautiful. I did use the word perfect. Well, excuse me, I did not mean to use the word perfect. Deity, the overarching deity, the universe, in and of itself, is perfect. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Deity is there only to help us. Now, if you are going to have a personal deity, it is going to be perfect for you, and it's also going to be conceived as beautiful.
But at the same time, that doesn't mean the deity that you're focusing on has to be perfect. For
No.
example, I always related it a lot to Hephaestus, who was, in terms of the Olympian pantheon, considered very flawed. He had a gimp. Everybody called him Crookshanks because he was kind of hunchbacked, had the twisted leg. But he was the artist and the poet.
Mm-hmm.
Or not the poet, the artist and the craftsman.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's an example of how suffering can lead to art and to the craft, to creative works.
Can I get a bit philosophical here? I think through his flaws, that deity is perfect.
Yeah.
That deity
Absolutely.
through his flaws is both
Agreed.
perfect and beautiful. You know, it's a matter of every deity out there being personal or just the overarching spirit or deity is certainly perfect and beautiful. I mean, I may not agree. Say, for instance, I may not, quote unquote, like your personal interpretation of deity. Does not mean it's not beautiful, because or perfect, because that is how you interact with the abstract deity. So, do you need your deity to be labeled? I mean, perfect is just a label. And as I've learned, you know, labels are certainly not even close to anything or everything. I mean, you know, It does not have to be quite like Hephaestus. Does not need to be perceived as this glowing, perfect being. You know, this young, virile, what have you. It could be modernly. Hecate is looked at as this, you know, this crone, this old woman that is advanced in years, but you know, damned if she can't beat you up, you know, with a thought. So you know what I mean. I hope you follow with that.
Oh yeah.
Personal deities are always beautiful because that is how you interact with the abstract deity, which of course is perfect. Because let's look at it. Deity is technically would you agree? The creator. It is in everything, and everything lives amongst it. So it is the universe. And the universe, no matter how chaotic, we're going to have, I mean, I would use the word perfect. Even you don't have to use the word perfect.
Well, you use the word perfect in the diamond, which going back to that,
Yeah.
it seems to be the best example, because the diamond itself is perfect, but it's made up of all these many facets, which make it perfect.
But again, that diamond's not perfect. I mean, that diamond
Yeah.
isn't perfect,
Yeah.
but I describe it as beautiful. You know, but in my mind, actually, I want both of your opinions on this, if you don't mind. In my mind, perfect and beautiful, when approaching deity, are synonymous.
Yeah.
They are interchangeable words.
Beauty is truth, and truth is beauty. That is all you need.
So when I say perfect, it's your perception, my perception.
What is
of
perfect for you?
What is Thank you. Exactly. What is perfect for you? Ask yourself that question. When interacting with deity on a personal level, and you find a god or a goddess that you are attracted to, and say, well, and when you ask yourself, is this perfect to me? Does this work for me? Does this give me the relationship, the personal relationship with the abstract deity? Can I connect to the universe through this deity? And there you have your patron. Okay? So, now also, we have lived many lifetimes through reincarnation. Sometimes we resonate very strongly with a particular face of deity because we have interacted with deity through that face in previous lifetimes. So that just adds a little bit more of an interesting aspect to the conversation we've already been having, is how do you find this personal deity? A little later on within the studies, you'll find that your patron deity can choose you. You don't necessarily choose it. However, if you find yourself being pulled towards a particular deity, a particular archetype of either the goddess or the god, then allow yourself to be pulled to it, because there is a reason. You know, there are no coincidences, there are no accidents. Another lesson that I've learned through this. So, I mean, if you find yourself being, again, say, personal example, I find myself being drawn more and more towards the Norse Odin. It is quite possible that in the past life, I could have been a practitioner of the Asatru religion, which is the Norse pantheon. And with your... Is there another question out there?
How do you get in touch with the deity who you feel attracted to?
How do you get in touch? Well, there are a number of different ways. You want to say something? Yeah.
For me, there was a while this summer where I was working a little bit with Apollo. And to do this, I just went out in the woods, let myself get lost, let myself sort of in the domain. I was working with the archetype of the wild god, the god of the hunt. So I went out there. I went out into his domain, built a bit of a fire, and then, which for me in itself was a learning experience. I never knew how to build a fire in the woods with wet wood, and I was physically learning an act of woodsmanship, which is also something associated with this with Apollo. And in doing so, I felt like I was also learning lessons and growing closer to him.
That is certainly an extremely valid way. I mean, you don't have to go out.
You don't have to go out. I will add that I got very lost on this trip.
But I think you also got very lucky.
I got very lucky.
You know,
as well.
I've also had a very lucky experience. Well, first, let's be simple. A simple prayer, a simple invocation. For instance, if you just want to directly speak, if you want this deity to hear you, Say, for instance, you're going to direct something to Mars. You know, you can sit there in prayer, have your hands like however you want, but comfortably. I would do something like, you know, no, hear me, Mars, come to me, allow me to converse with you, and then go into your thing. It's as simple as that.
Simply chanting
Yeah.
the old names of the gods too can be very powerful. That in itself, just chanting the name as a mantra,
Mm-hmm.
can help as well as visualizing the characteristics while you're with them, and maybe adding some of your own mantras and things to chant while you're doing it.
And just explore different ways. Do a direct prayer. Chant the name. Go out into the woods and see what you find. For instance, I'm familiar with another practitioner who actually had Bast, the Egyptian goddess Bast, choose him. What happened was he does not like cats. He despises. Past tense. He despised cats. And all of a sudden he noticed that there were just groups of cats that would just come out of the woodwork, and he'd be followed by cats. And he would have dreams with great big cats in them. And finally he went, being the intelligent person that he was already aware of Bast. And so, discovering he was being followed by cats, aware of Bast, he decided to go down, chant Bast's name, and that night she came to him in a dream, announcing herself as his patron goddess. Now, does it need to be that grand? No. No, he was just in the position for that to happen. Again, just saying a prayer. Even getting to know your deity through mythology. Read some mythology. You know, if you're attracted to Isis, read the Egyptian myths. If you're attracted to Odin, you know, study the runes, read the Norse myths. Make some affirmations, you know. Odin, I would like your guidance and your wisdom. Hear me, Odin, for instance. Such things like that. And when you do establish this relationship, study your deity. Discover what would be appropriate as an offering. Even if it just is, you know, filling your chalice with water and saying, this is for you, and pouring it into the ground, or leaving it on your altar. Something like that. There are a vast number of ways, and I can't even begin to list all of them. There's an immense number, and sometimes it happens by accident. But again, if you are finding yourself attracted to a particular face of deity, study it, pray to it, chant its name, and see what happens. See what you feel. See what you dream, for instance. And if you are still attracted to it, continue on. You know, see what the deity does for you. And if having a specific face of deity isn't your thing, Jeff, with your idea of speaking directly to the universe, speak directly to the universe. See what happens. Maybe eventually the universe might send you a face.
That's what I was saying.
So,
and with the idea that he's giving it to the universe and channeling where it needs to be, and possibly bringing us something.
And it's all a matter of experimentation and finding out what's right for you. It's all about you and your relationship with deity.
They say thank you for answering questions.
And for me, you know, I dabble in different pantheons. I mean, when I just talked about my three images of the crone, one was Mexican, one was Russian, one was Greek. There are some traditions that don't believe in mixing pantheons.
Some people say it's dangerous.
Some people say it's dangerous.
I don't think that's true.
I'm not of that opinion either.
Yeah. Some people are.
Yeah, maybe that's honestly that's what a lot of the pagan cultures did. I mean, whenever the Roman Empire moved into a place, like, okay, your gods can join our pantheon, come party with us.
So it's just all up to you. But anyway, the second way Wiccans view deity is universal, which we've touched upon several times throughout the course of this discussion. We acknowledge that the true nature of deity is beyond all names and forms, and indeed perhaps beyond all names and forms, and indeed, excuse me, just read that sentence twice, and indeed perhaps beyond all mortal understanding. Universal deity is the diamond. There is no way that any one name or form for deity can ever encompass all of the nature of universal deity. but rather can only serve to limit our understanding of it. Because of this, we regard monotheism as an extremely primitive and limiting point of view. Rather, we use our own personal images of deity symbolically to help us understand the nature of universal deity, as we use myth as a tool to illustrate the qualities and process of universal deity without ever imagining that a single view can encapsulate the whole nature of the divine. That makes sense to those present. Let's go further. What does that mean? As we've been talking about personal forms of deity being the various facets, universal deity is the whole diamond. Okay. And perhaps it is beyond all mortal understanding. Although perhaps it's not true. Speaking directly to the universe. There might be a lucky few of us out there that can do that. But universal deity cannot be limited. You see, so that's why we've mentioned several names. We mentioned Anubis, Apollo, the crone goddess Hecate, Odin, Freya, etc. All of those being different symbolic views of deity are all part of the same being. So it doesn't matter how you perceive deity, as long as you find a way to do so. But monotheism being a primitive view, therefore, what is to say you can't have multiple patrons, if not at once, through the course of your lifetime?
Mm.
It is vastly appropriate. Vastly appropriate. So, a single view cannot encapsulate the whole nature of the divine. As a single planet or a single star cannot encapsulate the whole universe. You see, the universe is vast, never changing, so why can't our views be vast, never changing? And that's what cosmology comes down to.
I have a quote that I love. Love to say it was Stephen Hawking, but I'm not quite sure if it was, so don't quote me on that part. But we know about as much about the universe as a camper who is in a tent looking out through a little peephole in that tent at a red rock knows about the state of Arizona, basically.
It's true. It's true. And that's why education, especially interacting with deity, is a lifelong process, and really should never cease. You know, unless of course you find it's not for you. If it's not for you, well, why are you listening to me? No, I don't mean to sound limiting there. But is there any point of view either of you'd like to share before we delve into the next part of what we're doing?
Let's move on.
Okay, all right. Anything out there in internet land before I move on?
Just talking about Jesus.
Very cool. One face of deity.
Mm.
We'll put that out there. Certainly one face of deity.
One face of deity. I always had a very difficult time.
Actually, funny, a nice quote here. The Dalai Lama was recently asked in an interview, "What is the best religion?" The one who asked was expecting His Holiness to say Buddhism. Instead, he said, "The best religion is the one that brings you closer to the divine."
Ooh.
Exactly. Whoever
Thank you,
showed
Greengate.
it. Yeah, thank you very much, Greengate. It is an extremely important quote. Thank you for sharing it with us. And that really sums up what this is all about.
Yeah.
So it's extremely appropriate that Greengate shared that. And again, thank you. Very important to us. So now we move on to what the exercises are for this chapter, this lesson. And we'll kind of run through them. So, I can begin to read. As you advance through these lessons, you will learn many exercises which will build and help you learn to control your psychic energies. Many of these exercises use the chakra points. Chakras are the energy centers of the body, and there are a number of them. You will learn more about the chakras in future lessons, etc., etc. So, in this lesson, however, we'll be using 2 chakras. And these are chakras that not everybody recognizes as being the 7 major ones. These chakras are the ones located in the palms of your hands. Okay? And the soles of your feet. So they're all the same thing. Alright, you can imagine the chakras as a ball of white light directly in the center of the palm of the hand or the sole of the foot. And these two chakras are basic chakras which are used for bringing energy into the body and for sending it out of the body. And the other chakras are more specialized. So, I will read through the exercises and we'll talk a little about them as we go through. First, exercise 1. You will put yourself into a comfortable position. Begin by releasing, which we covered a few weeks ago, or a week ago, I think. Begin by releasing. Close your eyes and imagine all of the worries and anxieties of your day just pouring out of you like water, down and out through the palms of your hands and the soles of your feet. Now place the palms of your hands together and imagine a ball of white light between the two palms radiating out from where they touch. Imagine it very strongly and see it clearly. Now pull your hands slowly apart and imagine that ball of light stretching out between your hands as you separate them, becoming a beam of light between your palms. Hold this for a few seconds or longer if you can. Then slowly bring your hands together, shrinking the beam of light between them until they close together and it is gone. Clear and release all excess energy as you learned to do in Lesson 1. Imagine a stream of white light or water flowing through you from the top of your head and carrying all excess energy away through the soles of your feet. And practice this until you get good at it and you're ready for exercise 2. So I think that's fairly straightforward. And what these exercises are going to facilitate is, as you will see throughout the course of these lessons, these exercises are helping the chakras to grow more efficient. Chakras are like muscles, and the more you use them, the more you exercise them, the more useful they will become, the stronger they will be. Again, that was exercise 1. And it's this clear white light between your palms, and large beam, well, or as large as you can make it. Hold it for as long as you can, and continue to progress, see as you can do, and then move on to exercise 2. And exercise 2 begins just like exercise 1. Do it just the same way until you come to the point where you have created the beam of energy between your two hands. Then instead of stopping, imagine the beam growing and expanding to form a ball of white light between your hands. Hold that image as long as you can, then slowly bringing your hands back together, seeing the ball shrink between them, growing smaller and smaller until by the time your hands close, the ball is gone. Clear and release when you're done. When you get good at this, you're ready to try exercise 3. So exercise 2 is an extension from exercise 1. You'll make the beam and see it grow into a ball between your hands. A couple of my psychic friends like to play toss the energy ball, so when you get really good at it, you can try that. So don't quote me against that because it's not in the book anywhere. But finally, exercise 3, being the most difficult of these 3 exercises, is just like exercise 1 again, except when you open your hands, instead of a beam of white light, imagine a rainbow between your hands. Every color has an effect on energy, so this will work to strengthen you on a number of levels at once. Excuse me. These 3 exercises are not meant to replace each other, but to be done together. As you master each one, you will add the next to your daily regimen. Always release before and after, but not between the exercises. When you have mastered all 3, this will be a regimen. Release, exercise 1, exercise 2, exercise 3, release again. But of course, in the beginning, release, exercise 1, release. Release, exercise 1, 2, release. And then, there it is. Are there any questions out there as to how to do these exercises? Or anything else?
I've tried this exercise. I always find the edges of the white light also contains blue. Is there any significance to this?
Well, that might have to do with your aura. Or it might mean that, do you notice if it's a light blue or a darker blue? If they could describe that for me, you might be able to help. Because if it's a lighter blue, it may have to do with your throat chakra. But if it is a darker blue...
It's a light blue.
Light blue might have to do with your throat chakra. Or, well, let me explain the throat. Throat chakra is center of your communication. It is also the representation of... It is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5th chakra. So therefore it is your... That's pretty much your soul chakra, your planes of existence. You'll get to that later. But anyway, it could mean you might need to strengthen your communication, or you might just be a very good communicator, and that energy is just coming off and showing itself as, hey, you're good at this. Continue to strengthen me. Or there could be a block within your throat chakra, and it's actually trying to send you a bit of a warning. Hey, work on me. But simply, it might just be your aura, the color of your aura. Blue is a I wouldn't say a common color, but it is certainly a auric color. And if you have a blue aura, you are a very calm, peaceful person, and you're easy to talk to, and you find it very easy to communicate with others. So I don't know if either of that makes any sense, but
how long should we do this? 10 minutes a day? Maybe 5?
Well, really, it comes down to what's best for you. I'd start off slow. See if you can feel your way around the exercise, and how quickly you can adapt to it. And I would recommend a good 10, 15 minutes maximum to begin. You might find you might be going a little under or a little over, depending on how connected you are and where you are in the step process. I mean, are you just doing the one exercise, or are you doing all 3 of them? What point are you at? It may, if you are just beginning to work with energy, it will certainly take longer. And after you begin to work through them, your time will go down because you're more used to working with it, and you'll be able to ground and release faster.
And don't be daunted if you can't focus for 10 minutes straight, because when I first started I couldn't either.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to sort of time myself every day to see how much longer I could actually focus on the task and on the exercise. And the initial practicing part where you have to take your time on it, for me, that's the most difficult, and I really had to train myself in focus and meditation.
And I assure you, you'll get there.
You get there,
I would assume you're already starting to get there, if not there already. Right, Melissa?
Yeah,
would you say?
much better. I've learned a lot of techniques that make it a little easier, and also I have no problem taking short breaks between the exercises. If you need to be like, okay, I've got to get up and let all my ADD out of my system before I move on to the next exercise, that's okay too.
Okay, now I hope that all made sense to you out there. Again, next week we will be delving into, next meeting we'll be introduced to the Vangelo della Strega.
Or Aradia, for those of us who just still can't pronounce it.
Or the Aradia, which is one of the most sacred myths of the Wiccan faith, and we'll be explaining that in deeper meaning. The Vangelo della Strega, it comes from the Stregoria practices in Old Sicily. And in the Vangelo you will see one of the most common creation myths that we like to delve into. So we'll be dealing with that next week. And of course, I think I'd like to also maybe have a little bit of a powwow on how the exercises are going for people over the course of the week. So again, with the exercises, you're going to want to try and do them at around the same time every day, if not at the exact same time. Say the same, within the morning or within the evening, whenever you're doing it. And we come back next week. Maybe we'll report to one another how it's doing, and see how we feel when we're doing it. But until next week, that will end our lesson for today. And if there's nothing else out there, is there any questions, comments, anything before we leave? Yes.
And just so that you guys know, we are doing a special tonight for the next hour until 8:30 our time, which is Eastern Standard Time. If you call in and donate $30, you get a copy of First Degree Witchcraft, and we get it signed by Reverend Don and sent it out to you. You don't have to pay for shipping. The $30 covers it.
So this is our number right here, and your copy won't be near as beat up as mine is. So yes. And the donations will actually help us to continue to function as a temple. It brings you like what you see here. See more of it, by donating. And, so yes, again, Tituba Temple. There's our number. Please don't hesitate to call in. We'll take what you can give us, within your means.
And this helps keep the study groups going.
It certainly does. And so until next week, may you blessed be.